In 1984, an album was released in Japan called Variety. The singer was Mariya Takeuchi. One song from it was Plastic Love. At the time, it was not a hit. It wasn't even released as a single until years later. But more than 30 years on, something strange happened. The song began to be heard all over the world. It started with a single video, uploaded by a fan, without permission. The algorithm picked it up. It reached tens of millions of views. The comment sections filled with English, Spanish, and Portuguese. An old Japanese song had been discovered by the world, and it raises a simple question. If the song was this good, why didn't it reach the world sooner? To understand this, we first need a word, city pop. City pop was a style of Japanese music from the late 1970s and 1980s. It was polished, urban, and sophisticated. It blended pop, funk, soul, and jazz. It was the sound of a confident, modern Japan. City lights, late-night drives, and summer romance. Artists like Tatsuro Yamashita, Mariya Takeuchi, and Anri defined it. At home, it was popular, but abroad, almost no one knew it existed. For decades, it stayed a local secret. There is a common explanation for this. People say Japanese music simply wasn't appreciated overseas, but that isn't quite right. The music of Plastic Love was already complete 40 years ago. The quality was always there. What changed was not the music itself. What changed was the system that carries music to people. This is the key idea of this series. The value of a song and whether it reaches the world are two completely different things. One is about art, the other is about rights, distribution, and discovery. So how does music actually reach a listener on the other side of the world? It has to pass through 3 stages. First, rights. Who owns the song and whose permission do you need? Second, distribution. How do you place it where the world can legally hear it? Third, discovery. How does a stranger, who doesn't speak Japanese, ever find it? For old Japanese music, every one of these stages was difficult. Let's walk through them one by one. The first wall is rights. This is the part most people never think about. A single song is not one simple thing you can just use. It contains several different rights, held at the same time. There are 3 main ones. First, the composition right, the melody and the lyrics. This belongs to the songwriter and the composer. Second, the performer's right, held by the people who actually sang and played on the recording. And third, the master right, the right to that specific recording itself. The master right belongs to whoever paid for the studio and took the financial risk to make it. Usually, that is the record company. One song, 3 separate rights, often 3 separate owners. Now, here is why this becomes a wall. To release a song worldwide, you need permission from every rights holder. Miss one and you cannot move. And in Japan, there is an extra layer. Most composition rights are managed by one large organization called JASRAC. JASRAC can license the melody for you. But, and this is crucial, JASRAC does not control the master right. The recording itself is held separately, usually by the record company. So even after you clear the melody, you still need a second, separate agreement for the recording. And that permission is not guaranteed. The company may say no. They may not even know who has the original files anymore. This is the single biggest reason old recordings never made it to streaming. The second wall is distribution. And here is a fact that surprises most people. Japan is the second largest music market on Earth, second only to the United States. For decades, it was a huge, self-sufficient world of its own. Part of the reason is a unique rule called resale price maintenance, which keeps CDs from being discounted. So CDs kept their value and kept selling long after the rest of the world went digital. Even today, physical media still makes up a large share of the Japanese market. The result? Labels could earn very well at home. There was simply little business reason to push their catalog overseas. It wasn't arrogance. It was economics. But the side effect was that thousands of brilliant albums never left the country. The third wall is the recordings themselves. Most older music was recorded onto analog tape, physical reels, sitting in a warehouse somewhere. And over the decades, those master tapes get lost. Companies merge. Studios close. Warehouses are cleared out. Sometimes, no one knows where the original recording even is. Tape also decays with time, and digitizing it properly costs money. Money no one wants to spend on an old song that might not sell. So the recording sits there, unheard. And because it's unheard, it's forgotten. And because it's forgotten, no one bothers to reissue it. A quiet cycle that swallowed entire catalogs. The fourth wall is language, but not in the way you would think. Sound itself needs no translation. A great melody works in any country. The problem is everything around the music. Who was this artist? What year is this from? What were they trying to say? This is what we call context, and almost all of it exists only in Japanese. Liner notes, interviews, history, untranslated. For a listener overseas, a song with no context isn't a story. It's just an unknown track, floating with no roots. Great music can survive without context, but it struggles to be remembered. So those are the four walls: rights, distribution, recordings, and language. For decades, they held. So what changed? The answer is discovery. The way people find music was rebuilt from the ground up. Let's go back to Plastic Love. What carried that song around the world was not a label or an ad campaign. It was an algorithm. A recommendation system on a video site started suggesting one fan-uploaded video to millions of people. They listened, they were hooked, and then they started searching for more Japanese songs like it. Discovery no longer needed a record store or even a shared language. And then, something new grew out of it. Producers overseas began taking these old Japanese tracks and reshaping them, chopping, looping, slowing them down. This became a whole internet movement, with names like Vaporwave and Future Funk. Artists like Night Temple built entire careers re-editing forgotten Japanese songs. Suddenly, music made in Tokyo in 1983 was at the heart of an online aesthetic in 2008. The past and the internet had collided, and Japanese city pop was right at the center. The change wasn't only online. Record labels overseas started taking it seriously. Take Light in the Attic, an American label. They began licensing and reissuing old Japanese albums abroad, properly, on vinyl, with translated liner notes. Their compilations, like the Pacific Breeze series, introduced Japanese city pop to Western listeners who had never heard a note of it. They reissued works connected to artists like Haruomi Hosono. People overseas were now actively digging up Japanese music and paying to do it right. A few decades ago, this would have been unthinkable. So let's return to our first question. Why did Japanese music take so long to reach the world? The answer was never the quality. The music was always there. It was the system around it. The rights were tangled. Distribution stayed home. The recording slept in warehouses. The context never traveled. The machine to deliver it simply didn't exist yet. And now, piece by piece, that machine is finally being built. The music didn't get better. The world just, at last, built a way to hear it. And this is where RECHRO comes in. Our work sits inside this exact change. We find Japan's sleeping music and bring it to the world, properly licensed. That means doing the slow, unglamorous work, tracing who holds each right, confirming the master and the composition, one by one, getting permission, preserving the recordings with care. It isn't flashy, but this quiet, careful work is what carries a forgotten album into its second life. Next time, we'll go deeper into the rights we touched on today, the master right and the composition right. Once you truly understand the difference between these two, the entire music world starts to look different. And if there's a piece of Japanese music you wish the world knew about, tell us in the comments. We're listening. Thank you for watching.